Konnichiwa. Shibumi Jones here. We are going to break down this bird. This beauty is a heritage breed turkey. Wild turkeys are native to the Americas. Livestock breeds are different than wild turkeys, but they are still domesticated descendants of wild turkeys. These are some female hens, eastern wild turkeys, at my cabin in Pennsylvania. Number one, get your turkey from a sustainable source with healthy farming practices, a trusted source, a heritage breed, which is the best, or hunt your own turkey. That's about as fresh as it gets. Maybe an organic turkey, or maybe a local turkey, a local farm, your friend's farm, a small family farm. These are some ideas how to source a good turkey. Number two, let it thaw all the way. Be patient. Could take days, could take a week. Remove the giblets, aka the offal meat. Reserve those for stock or gravy, whatever you want to use those for. Maybe a pate, maybe a terrine. Rinse the bird, dry it off. First we're going to remove the dark meat, so we're going to remove the leg, the drum, and the thigh. What you're going to do first is you're just going to separate the skin. There's skin holding them together by the knee. So you're just going to carefully go through and just cut the skin and let the legs kind of fall apart. There's actually no flesh right there at the drums holding it. It's just the skin. So as you can see, just remove the skin right there. You're gonna push the legs open. This is gonna pop the hip joint out. Trim a little more if you need to on the skin, but this is just gonna pop the hip joint out and the thigh. You can see it right there, the tip of the bone. You're just popping that out of the socket. Now you can see where you're going to cut. I have the bird on its side and I'm trimming it. You don't need to do that, just trim it with the back down. This is actually a more dangerous way to do it, but I wanted to get as much of the oyster and the back meat as possible. I'm gonna do a roulade with the thighs, so I wanted to get a lot of meat on there. But you just keep the back down, put your knife right behind that tip bone and just slice right through. And this is your dark meat. Because this is a heritage bird, the dark meat is much darker than what you'd find in the grocery store. It's super complex flavor, and this is very special characteristic of a heritage breed bird. So again, the bird is showing you where to cut. There is a white line right there of tissue, and you're just gonna slice down that until you get to the joint of the thigh and the drum. You can see it right there. There's a little drum and a little socket. So that's where you're going to cut, in between those two things, right there. You just remove the flesh around it and pull it apart and cut right through. There you can see the thigh bone and the drum. You don't need to cut any bones here, just flesh. So once you find where the bone is now pulling apart, just cut right through. That's it. Now we're gonna remove the thigh bone. You don't need to do this part. I just wanted to make some thigh roulades, so I'm gonna remove the bone. So basically I'm just taking a boning knife and I'm just making little tiny cuts, getting slowly but surely getting the flesh away from the bone. Just take your time and just do this. You know, it takes a minute, but you wanna leave as much meat on the thigh as possible. So just take your time, little tiny cuts, scraping the meat off. And then once you get down to the bottom, just slowly slice it off until all the flesh, you're not cutting any bone here, just all the flesh is coming off. And that's it, thigh bone is removed. Now just trim off, there's a little hard bit, piece of a socket. Just trim off that little tough piece of bone, and there you have it. Do that on the other side, and you're good. So now we're at the wings. The wings, again, they're not really connected by a bone. The wings are connected to the breast through flesh. So you're just going to cut around that until you get to the actual joint. So basically we're just kind of cutting around all these joints and then popping them off. So they're not really, the bones, we're not sawing through any bones. We're just going to all the connections and just cutting off the flesh that surrounds them. So that's all we did here. So now we're going to separate the drum from the wing, which you can use this when you make chicken wings. It's the same, you see where it connects. You're gonna cut through and you're gonna see where the joint is, and then you're gonna put your knife in between the two bones and just cut the flesh. Same step as everything else. Find the joint, cut the flesh around it, see where it connects, and pull it apart. Now I'm gonna cut the wing tip off. I'm gonna use that for stock. Same thing, find the joint and cut around the flesh, take it off, pop it off. Now we are at the breast meat. So you find the breastbone basically, and you're gonna cut along the breastbone and along the ribs. And I know I have a sharper boning knife than normal, but like a flexible, not even that sharp boning knife does amazing wonders. So, I mean, you could literally spend $5 on a boning knife and do this whole bird. You don't need to buy anything expensive. So I'm just cutting down the ribs there, just cutting off as much meat as possible with the breast, specifically with the breast, and I mean every cut. You want to get the most meat off because you can always trim it later. Right there, you'll see the tenderloin. You can just rip that right off. It isn't really held on by anything. So that's off. And then you just go and you just trim the breast. You trim any hard bits, you trim any extra fatty bits, and then same thing on the other side. You're just gonna slice along the carcass of the bird, along the ribs, until you get to the bottom, until you get to the back. Remove the tenderloin, and there's your breasts. We cut them off with, there was no bone in the breast, so strictly just flesh. And the bones for stock. So I never throw away any sort of poultry carcass. I always use the bones for stock because the bones make a beautiful stock. And you can use chicken stock for anything, turkey stock, poultry stock, duck stock. You can really use that for anything. Base of any soups, any pastas, any sauces. Anything you would use chicken stock for, you can use this turkey stock. Even this turkey is so dark and rich. Because it's a heritage bird, there's so much flavor in it that when I made this stock, it actually could be comparable to a beef stock. There was so much flavor. Obviously a little bit lighter and less fatty, but it was definitely super deep and complex. Could make a perfect French onion soup with the turkey stock. And there you have it. There's all my cuts of meat. I used every part of this bird. Nothing went to waste. Check out my Thanksgiving Day episode so you can see all the dishes I made. Cheers to you. Thank you for joining me. And don't be a stranger now. I want to see you again. And happy butchery. The bird's actually going to show you where to cut. I had a chef tell me that and I thought, she was crazy, but she's actually 1000% correct. All the animals, they basically give you a roadmap, so you just follow the roadmap. Put yourself in the back seat and follow the directions that are given to you by Mother Nature. You don't need an expensive boning knife. You can use a cheap boning knife, $5, to butcher most poultry. Use everything on the bird. Use the bones, use the offal meat or the giblets. Use it all, use the skin, use everything. Everything, everything, everything. As you butcher more birds, you'll get better and better and better and quicker and faster and more efficient and make nicer cuts. Take your time, relax. There's the Butchery roadmap and it's right there. From Mother Nature to you, from the bird to you. Let the animal communicate to you the roadmap.